Hey, good morning. Scott Luton, Greg White, and Kevin L. Jackson here with you on Supply Chain. Now, welcome to today's live stream. Kevin, Greg, how we doing today?
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday. It's rainy though. But there's supposed to rain on Monday,
Greg, is that true? Is that true?
It's not raining here. No, it's actually pretty nice here, but yeah, I'm doing great, of course. So lots happening.
Of course. What can you do down there in sunny Hilton? Hey.
Well, he's doing a lot of, but Kevin, he's doing a lot of calculations and
Right.
logistics research, and with
Exactly.
the index right out.
In-person research.
Right.
In-person. Yeah.
Right.
It's been pretty rare over the past 2 years, that in-person part.
That is
I
right.
agree. So
In real life.
that's why we had to come to such a place where we could be in person without being too close. Right.
That is
So,
right.
Always willing to give it up for the team, Kevin.
I know. I really appreciate that.
Thank
Bringing,
you.
You were cool in real life before in real life was cool.
IRL, the latest acronym. I learned that last week that it's a real thing as we were down in Sapphire with SAP. So IRL, as you reconnect with folks that you've been connecting with digitally. But speaking of digitally, Greg and Kevin,
Yes,
today is the Supply Chain Buzz Digital Transformers Takeover, not edition, the takeover.
Woo.
So we're going to be sharing some of the leading stories, developments across global business. We're going to be discussing a variety of topics. And joining us momentarily will be Kim Winter, one of our faves around here for sure. So buckle up, folks. Get ready because we want to hear from you too. So we got a lot of folks already chiming in the cheap seats. We're going to give shout outs here in just a second. But hey, we want to hear from you throughout the session. This should be a great conversation. So Greg and Kevin, I'm going to dive in.
Yeah.
We got 3 quick announcements. I'm going to shoot through these pretty quick because we've got a jam-packed episode, and then we'll say hello to a few folks. That sound good?
Sound good. Look at all those people coming in.
Hey, they're ready. They're ready. Must have been a tough weekend.
Bring in some more chairs.
Yeah.
They all want a buzz. It's been a tough weekend, evidently. So, but up first, so Wednesday is a culmination of months and months of hard work for our team and our partners as we, dove into stories from across the globe from a supply chain procurement standpoint. So y'all join us as we reveal all the winners, and we hear from Coupa and we hear from Hope for Justice on the 18th, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Time sharp. So check out the link to do just that. In a couple weeks, I guess next week rather, May 24th, we got our next great webinar with our fine friends at ShipHawk, the 10 competencies. Say that word 7 times fast, Greg.
Right.
I'm not confident enough.
Of best in class warehouses. Now, what's really important.
I told you to practice, Scott. I told you.
Kevin, I was practice. Man,
Alan Iverson.
Yes, Alan Iverson. But folks, for this webinar coming up on May 24th, we're going to hit some of the common hitters. We're going to do that really quick, and we're going to get to the stuff that really are differentiators. So join us for that May 24th webinar. And finally, we're very honored to partner with our friends at Vector Global Logistics as we continue this powerful and impactful series, Leveraging Logistics for Ukraine. They're moving the working sessions to every other week. Right, we're trying to get more action done between the working sessions. The next one is May 24th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You'll find the link in the comments. We'd love to have y'all join us. Hey, even if you're not in a position to donate, and even if you're kind of disconnected from what's going on, and at least like boots on the ground there in Europe, come in and to gather some of that market intel. You'll leave much more informed, not only about the situation, but also ways that you can help. So join us on May 24th at 11 a.m. And Greg, that's where I want to pick it up with you and Kevin. Purpose is so important here for our team and all of our hosts and global supply chain practitioners and leaders and organizations. We are in a unique position to do so much good for so many different causes. So I want to get both of y'all to kind of weigh in really quick on that, Greg, when it comes to purpose.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about give forward, right? A lot of companies have talked about giving back when they get to it. That's kind of what it means is once we've made our profit, once we've, established our other business values, then we come back to giving, and this whole notion of give forward, which is a core principle of what they do at Vector, and of course of their founder and managing director Enrique Alvarez. I think that's an important way to think about it. And to that specific point, Scott, I think people would be amazed at how affordable it is to really make some change in regards to Ukraine. What Enrique and his team have done to get big companies like Hapag-Lloyd to basically do everything but completely donate containers. They're basically allowing you to purchase them for cost to ship the goods there. It's things like that, right? When Give Forward goes viral, that's really inspirational.
Awesome.
Sure.
I completely echo what you just shared, Kevin.
Well, I mean, my last show with Marcin Wyzanski, I don't know, maybe we can put it in the link. So if anyone didn't catch that, you should really listen to that, because it changed my worldview when it comes to refugees, right? Whenever you see that word, refugees, you imagine, people, dragging a wagon with everything they have, no clothes, no food, just dragging themselves across the border. And then Marcin, I mean, yes, that's happening in Eastern Europe, but there are a lot of people, these people need jobs. I never really thought about jobs for refugees. And Marcin is delivering jobs, helping refugees from Ukraine in Poland find professional jobs, in supply chain, in technology, and it's really also a new way of thinking about the gig economy.
Right.
So it really opened my eyes.
So y'all can check out that episode on Digital Transformers, which of course is available wherever you get your podcast from. With that said, we got so much to get into. I want to say hello to a few folks, some of our dear friends from across the globe. Brenda Allen is back with us, of course, with Kenny Bob's Foods. She sent us samples. They're delicious, folks. Great to have you here with us, Brenda, from Tennessee. Amrit is tuned in via LinkedIn. Hey, let us know where you're tuned in from. Thanks for joining us here today. Ola is tuned in also via LinkedIn. Ryan Roach from beautiful sunny Iowa.
Sunny Iowa, man, that's good.
Yeah, it is good.
Also, I want to go back to that Tennessee. She's giving things from Tennessee.
Yes, Brenda Allen.
Brenda. There's some Jack and Daniels that it would be really nice if you just sort of.
Brenda, hey, I love that, Kevin, and thanks for your generosity for sure, Brenda. It's a great call out, Kevin.
I bet they make sauces, so they may have something that may soon have something that's got a little infusion that might be interesting.
You can infuse.
You put Jack Daniels in anything.
It's true. Catherine, great to see you here today from Connecticut. Catherine Whitehouse, tuned in via LinkedIn from Connecticut. Great to see you. Let's see here. Alpha Mamadou is tuned in via LinkedIn from Ghana. Great to see you here via LinkedIn. Thanks so much for joining us. Benita from the Canadian Rockies. I bet that's a gorgeous. Yeah.
Wherever that is, it's beautiful. If it's in the Canadian Rockies, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And we may have to the production team. It looks like, and big sidebar, big thanks to Amanda, Catherine, and Chantel. If we have any technical issues, just let us know. Brenda, hope we can get that rectified. Natalie is tuned in once again from Charlotte. Great to see you, Natalie. Suleiman is tuned in via LinkedIn. Hey, let us know where you're tuned in from. Suleiman, great to have you here today. One of our faves, Josh Goody from Seattle, is back with us. Josh is always dropping the knowledge here on our live streams.
He didn't say sunny or rainy this time. He just said Seattle. So my guess is partly cloudy. A little bit of wind.
I think you nailed it, Greg. Dr. Rhonda is back with us. Happy Monday, all. Getting my run in this morning, she says.
All right.
While learning what's up in the supply chain now world. Bring the positive energy one. I love that. Peter Bole all night and all day. Good morning, everybody. He's setting up his 10 by 12 foot steel gazebo on Saturday in 90+ degree weather. Took him 6 hours for a team of 3 to complete. What a job, but all set for summer now, Peter says. How about that?
Now he's ready to enjoy some cold beverages under that thing.
Right. Amrit is tuned in from Toronto, the
sir.
beautiful city of Toronto. So
Oh, I love
that is
Toronto.
wonderful. Hey, T Squared, we do owe him. So T Squared holds down the fort for us on YouTube. We've got to get your email so we can send you your trivia prize that you won when Stephanie Stuckey was with us last time. So if you could, T Squared, shoot a note to, or I tell you what, reach out to Amanda or I on LinkedIn, and we'll get connected if we aren't, and then shoot us your email, okay, via LinkedIn message. We got to make sure we get that to you. Verticalo tuned in via YouTube. Let us know where you're tuned in from. Somebody tall.
Let us know how tall you are.
Oh, look up, look up.
Hey, Kelly Barner, the one and only, of course.
Straighten up, Kevin.
Who leads Dial-P for procurement and Buyers Meeting Point, does good work at Art of Procurement. Of course, the awards, our partners there. So great to see Kelly.
Right.
And finally, and folks, keep it coming. We're going to try to reference these throughout the show today. Michael is tuned in from sunny but also rainy Winter Springs, Florida. Michael, thanks for joining us here today. Okay.
This time of year in Winter Springs, Florida, it's going to be rainy at 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. probably.
Predictive analytics.
Sunny in between.
That's how it goes. On the
that is. Well, so as excited as I am for the three of us to catch up and knock out, and again, it's the third Monday of each month. It's our Digital Transformers takeover with one and only Kevin L. Jackson. As excited as I am to navigate through our conversation with both of you, we've got to bring in one of our favorite guests.
Yes.
I want to welcome in Kim Winter, Group Managing Director with Logistics Executive Group.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes, always with the swoosh, Kim.
Good afternoon. Good evening. How you doing, Kim?
Salam alaikum, gentlemen. Always my great honor to be in the presence of the three musketeers of the supply chain world.
Well, great to have you back.
All for one. Yes.
I'm here in a balmy, just ticking under 100 degrees in your temperature.
It's cool.
The romantic Shamal winds coming through here as well.
Thank you, Kim, for talking our language, and we always try to do the reverse. But on a more serious note, on behalf of the whole Supply Chain Now team here, we want to wish condolences and best wishes and prayers to the family of the past president, Sheikh Khalifa, and his whole family, and all of you citizens of the UAE. So our hearts are with you.
Thanks so much, and shukran, and we have a time of great sadness here. We've had a time of great celebration with Eid, the passing of Ramadan, and this week this is a traditional holiday now. This is a farewell holiday to the Sheikh Khalifa, and coming in we have His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan as the new president, and your vice president. And Mr. Blinken and most of the leaders of the world have been flying in here over the last 48 hours to pay their respects to the new president of the UAE.
Well, I appreciate that. We look forward to learning a lot more about, I think he goes by the acronym MBZ, if I think I've got that right.
Indeed. And a loved leader of the country, of the 7 Emirates here.
Well, great to have you here, Kim. And by the way, I've got to go back to these comments that we were referencing before you joined us, Kim, on a much lighter note. First up, Michael is just confirming Greg's weather prediction patterns and
Really?
in Florida. Wow. Jenny Froome, our best friend from South Africa, Johannesburg, is with us here today, saying hello to Kim. We're all big fans of Jenny Froome. And Femi, great to have you here once again via LinkedIn. Thanks for joining us. Jerry Stevens, also from the great city of Cincinnati. Great to see you, Jerry. Okay, so Kevin, one of the things Kim mentioned was some of the celebrations earlier in May and late April. But you've got plenty of reason, all of us do, to celebrate, because Digital Transformers, Kim and Greg and the rest of the world, has become officially certified a top 100 podcast in terms of consumption and downloads, all that good stuff, by our friends at Chartable. Wow. Kevin, how about that?
Wow, thanks, Scott. Thank you very much. But when you and I discussed the idea of me hosting a podcast, I was really, really skeptical about fitting into a supply chain world. I told you, I don't do supply chain, right? but little did I know then that a global pandemic was about to change the world, and supply chain soon would be on everybody's lips, right? Where's my toilet paper? But today,
Right.
the importance of technology and digital transformation to every business is reflected by how both are being applied to the global supply chain. And the show's top 100 technology podcast listing is a testament to your foresight, Scott, and your willingness to build a very broad supply chain tent. So thank you very much for letting me in the tent.
Well, I appreciate your kind words, but honestly, I think Greg and the whole team here, we've all learned from so much that you brought to the table. Your expertise, your guests, just like as Kim has appeared and we've done shows together. We've learned so much from on a variety of levels of what Kim, all of our guests and our hosts, what they bring to the table. So thank you all. Congrats, Kevin. That is quite an achievement. And Greg, I'm going to give you the final word on as we celebrate a top 100 podcast with Digital Transformers.
I mean, I think it really goes to the interesting confluence of the recognition of digital transformation as necessary and impactful to the world and supply chain at almost the same time, really. And at the same time that I think those of us who've been in supply chain for a long time have recognized we're all part of supply chain, whether we know it or not, right? And likewise, we're all part of digital transformation, and it is both are happening, both are expanding, and both are improving, whether we see it or not. So finally, we're just seeing it, and I think that's really affirming. It's got to be affirming for you, Kevin, because I know you've been talking about digital transformation and probably felt like you were shouting into the wilderness for some years, but now there are people listening, right?
Yeah. More than echoes. That's great.
That's awesome. And well said, Greg. Well said. Kim, I'm going to give you the final word here because, we're talking about kind of, beyond the content and the awesome podcast and work that Kevin's doing and our production team's doing, by the way. Big shout out there. Digital twins, digital transformation, worlds are coming together and aligned and are allowing us to serve the consumers much more effectively, amongst other things. Kim, your quick comment there.
Yeah, I guess where I always like to come from is my position of strength about understanding the people world and where human resources and the workforce plays into the digital world. And there's all this talk about AI and digital are going to take over from the workforce from the humans, but clearly that's not true. And I got to put a call out right now to the guys from Accenture. As you know, Scott, I'm emceeing the Gulf Petrochemical Association 3-day conference tomorrow. And I happen to have some data and some research from Francesco from Accenture here, which gives me some great data. So just quickly, if you're talking about the impacts and what's going to happen with digital and how it's being undermined by the shortage of workforce and labor in that whole space, there's some research here that we'll talk a bit about later on, but that 84% of companies saying they won't achieve their growth objectives unless they scale digital. One piece of data. Another piece of data is C-levels say they don't scale. If they don't scale digital in the next 5 years, they think they'll be out of business.
Yeah, that gets your attention.
That's pretty. That's a bold,
really. So there's no option.
That's a bold but safe bet, Kim. And as sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but there is no option. We have to lean in and embrace it. So excellent there, Kim. We look forward to getting some of your research data points from the upcoming event. Okay, and officially welcome, Kim. Great to have you here today. All right, so Kevin, let's see, where are we starting as we dive into the heavy lifting? And folks, again, we want to hear from you all throughout the conversation here today. We are starting with our first story where Tools Group, who's been with us earlier, Greg, Tools Group has conducted a study in conjunction with CSCMP, and the data shows Kim alluded to it. The data shows we've got a couple of major hindrances to digitally transforming global supply chains. So, Kevin, tell us more about this here, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was the third annual study by Tool Group, and they really are a leader in developing planning software. And this research was done with the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals, and they found that although more companies than ever, about 93% are actively engaged in digital transformation. It's what Kim said, people skills. And the deficit of those people skills is the number one obstacle to digital transformation, right? And it's really standing in the way of their efforts. The survey involved more than 300 supply chain professionals around the world. They were very concerned about supply chain delays, about 25%, surging inflation, which is now starting to affect the pocketbook, and escalating fulfillment costs, right? So they're linked. And other issues like shorter product life cycles and risk of obsolescence, or additional production options, which were more higher on the list, were significantly less importance. So the top objectives for 2022 is developing better and faster reactions to unplanned disruptions while increasing supply chain resilience. Once again, this is what humans are skilled at doing. Last year's top objective of keeping up with evolving customer behaviors and expectations has really plummeted in this year's survey. This shows just how profoundly external factors are disrupting all supply chain activities.
Excellent said. I'm going to come to you next, Greg, here. But really quick, Jerry Levy, our friend from Cincinnati, says, what's driving this digital transformation is how interdependent all departments and manufacturers and retailers are with their supply chain. Josh likes that point. And Benita also says we're all interconnected, whether we know it or not. An event on the other side of the world is going to impact us eventually, if not immediately. Excellent point there, Benita. Okay, Greg, getting back to this study from our friends at Tools Group and CSCMP, what else stands out to you, or what's your take here?
Yeah, well, I think not just this top issue, right, of people/skills deficits. A lot of that goes to the fact that people have been leaving the supply chain industry in droves, baby boomers, right? As we've talked about many times before, they left the workforce at a rate much higher than even was expected, and that was already at 10,000 a day. And they took those skills with them. If you think about it, and I read an article this morning, and if you think about it, that was the last fully physical generation of workers, right? They did their jobs with their hands to start, at least, even though many of them evolved into the computer age and that sort of thing. Every generation since that, including our generation, Generation X, which is very often not included and overlooked, millennials and Gen Z have all been technology first, or at least very prominent as part of their work, or as the predominance of their work. So there was a lot of lack of documentation, a lot of physicality to the work, and the new generations, including ours, don't really want to take on that physical work. That's why I think there is room for digital transformation, including robotics. And as I've said before, we need not apologize for automation, autonomous robotics taking the jobs of human beings, because it's simply not going to happen. People don't want those jobs that are mundane, that are dangerous, that are repetitive, et cetera, et cetera. And instead, they want to use their technical skills to do their job. Or even if they are using physical skills, we can greatly increase their productivity by having robots, autonomous and automation, do those things that are less safe, again, less satisfying for human beings. And as Kevin just said, less fit to where human beings really accelerate, which is making rapid game-changing decisions in short order with insufficient or incorrect data. That's what humans do that technology cannot.
Yeah, those
Excellent.
robots don't have those 7 pounds of gray matter. They leverage.
Right.
So.
I'm not sure
It
if I
weighs
got
a
all
lot more, but it does a lot less.
I'm not sure if I got my full 7 pounds, Kevin. I'll have to go back and conduct an inventory of that. But hey, Kim, Kevin and Greg sharing some golden nuggets here, and we're gonna get back to the comments in a minute. But what's your take here, Kim?
Well, I just want to come back to that point, both Kevin and Greg, about the replacement issue, AI and robots in particular. Did you see the story, LinkedIn, I think it was, with Elon Musk saying that robots are going to be bigger than cars? Did you see that?
No,
You didn't. I'll send you the link.
Not physically bigger, but more prominent.
Going to be a bigger industry than
Oh,
cars.
unquestionably.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Unquestionably.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, gee whiz. And you're talking about pricing and it being really affordable and will just be moving. But he also said it's not going to hit the labor shortage or the workforce because there's still this incredible demand. He also had discussion about the cost of everything coming down to this robot. Different day subject, perhaps. But let me throw a little bit back to you, Scott. Throw some cream on the cake that's being talked about here, a little bit more research. At 73% of supply chain leaders agree that their function doesn't have all the talent needed to meet the current supply chain performance requirements. We're talking about digitization, automation, new skills that will be needed. And on top of that, 70% of the companies surveyed, the leading companies, are building a talent pool of AI and machine learning skills to enable real-time monitoring of manufacturing operations. So what 3-5 years ago was, this digitization thing, everybody better get on board. And I know, Greg, you've talked a lot about this in the last 12 months or so. It's just ubiquitous, existential.
That's a big word. I need to go back and look up what you're talking about there. But
in New Zealand.
Really quick though.
Hey, Scott, before you go, Scott, I want to apologize to you. You said you were a little lacking on the work in the
7
brain.
pounds.
Yeah, the 7 pounds. The average person is 3 pound brain. I'm sorry. I mean, you're probably okay. I'm just thinking about my own heavy head. So.
Oh gosh. Well, hey,
he is a rocket scientist.
He is a rocket scientist. Well, kidding aside, more talent. Got to compete for talent. You got to compete for top talent. There's a lot of lip service in that. Not here in our panel, but out in the industry. And I think one key lesson to be learned here, as you're leading organizations, are you really a top talent magnet? You're really conducting that internal audit, interviewing the folks that have been recently onboarding or have departed the organization and find where your gaps are. It's so important to become a talent, true talent, super competitor. I got to share a couple comments here from the audience. So I got my Jerry's mixed up. My apologies. Jerry Stevens is in Cincinnati. Jerry loves what Greg said about human-guided AI as being the current pathway. Jerry Levy, which I'm not sure. Jerry, let us know where you're tuned in from. He says, amen, Greg. It's true that the baby boomer generation started doing everything manually, but have been intimate with the automation process in all areas of the supply chain, making them the experts in the process that's lacking in younger generations. And as our panel knows, organizations trying to document that terrible knowledge before the continued resignation, right, Greg?
Yeah, that is the biggest gap, is so much of what they've done. How many times have you worked with a company and someone said, I just know, how do you know how to do that? I just know. How do you know that's right? I just know. And the truth is, that's very often the case because it's experiential learning that has taught them that. And the capture of the process of utilizing that experience to create the outcomes has not been documented. So
you can't get rid of us baby boomers yet, right? All right.
That's right. You're still useful to us, Kevin.
You need that experience.
That's so true. It's so true, and need it really documented too, so that transfer can take place very effectively. Ariva tuned in from North Carolina, a buyer out in the market. Great to see you, Ariva. Let's see here.
PCB,
Benita.
is that Panama City Beach? No, not in North Carolina. Where would that
I'm
be?
not sure. So Ariva,
Yeah, let's know what that
tell us about
company is.
PCB. Benita is worried as well about, I was worried about my 7 pounds. Benita, we can do an audit later. Natalie says, great point. Even in the customer experience space, we're talking about bot virtual assistants versus human assistants. That's an
See
excellent
that
point,
all
Natalie.
the time.
Yep.
I mean, you can almost tell when sometimes you really can tell when it's a bot.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sarah says hello from South Carolina. Collaboration initiatives encourages early human adoption of digitalization strategies. Excellent point there, Sarah. And we were just down. Greg is still there, but I was just down in Charleston, Hilton Head over the weekend. A lot of other comments we can't get to right quick, so y'all keep them coming. Hey, Mohib is tuned in from Kansas, but resilient. Yes, resilient, Andover, Kansas. I love that, Mohib, and our hearts and prayers are certainly with you. Okay, so on a much lighter note, really quick, Kevin, before we hit your second news article, Greg, we got to give a shout out to our friends at Alfred's in Hilton Head Island. We had the best dinner down there Saturday night. So if you're looking for really good food, Greg, where do they go? In Hilton Head.
Yeah. Who would think that you would go 1 to an island and 2 to South Carolina to get some of the best German food? Now, Sylvia Judy she might have an opinion here. Right. And we would welcome her to give us a review, come down and give us a review. But Alfred's is German and continental food, outstanding. Heath and Linda, the owners there, do a great job. Great hosts as well as great service and food providers. Yeah.
There may be a trend there. The best Italian food I have ever had was on an island, and that island was Sri Lanka. It was
Well, let's make a trip. The four of us. Let's make a trip. All right, really quick here. Closing my housekeeping list here. Jerry is from Atlanta, fellow ATLer. Right here, Ariva is Halifax, North Carolina, where they make cable sensors and crystal. And T Squared says you called it right on Gen X being overlooked. After the boomers, folks are running straight to the millennials. Excellent point.
Well, T Squared, as I said, when some writer for CNN, I think, said, now from boomers running the country, it will be millennials and Gen Z. I said, if it's millennials and Gen Z, the next president will live at home with their parents.
Homework, working from home.
Yeah, mom.
In the basement. In mom's basement.
Yeah.
Oh, we used to have a lot of fun around podcasters, Greg. We used to say we have a podcast. No, we don't live in the basement and only
we don't do it from our mother's basement. That's right.
All right. So let's move right along. There's so much to get into here today, and y'all keep the comments coming. But up next, Kevin, from our friends at Deloitte, we're talking about the business case for digital supply networks. So, Kevin, tell us more.
So this article talked specifically about digital supply networks in life sciences, how that can help optimize operations and inventories to free up capital and research and development investment. So life science digital supply networks also help improve customer satisfaction, fulfill the regulators' request, and speed up innovation. So the audience, or maybe you, may be asking, what is a digital supply network? Well, these digital supply networks establish a digital thread through the physical and digital channels. They connect information, goods, and services in powerful ways by capturing signals and data from the physical world to create a digital record. So these digital supply networks are applicable in any business. They can address the challenges with optimizing the management of inventories, reliability, and the visibility of products that are moving across your supply chain or your operational web. They can help with your efficiencies and product yields. So if you are a manager how could a focus on your digital supply network help your business?
Greg.
Well, I think the key word here is network. Look, I mean, we have just finally, and I wouldn't even say it's settled, we've just finally switched from calling it logistics to transportation to whatever to supply chain. And now I believe nearly everyone considers themselves part of the supply chain, though manufacturers often choose to stand alone and consider manufacturing somehow outside the supply chain. And often logistics providers as well. We're getting there, though. But the truth is, maybe we ought to skip over this whole notion of chain and go to network, as Kevin and I have talked about it at panel sessions before. Or even I've talked to some companies who consider it a mesh, more like an organic kind of network. Like I think it was Bonita who said, the butterfly effect. What happens where Kim is affects us where we are, and vice versa. But I think if we think about it from an organic standpoint, roots and wind and water and trees and all of that, I mean, there are various types of connections. The thing that is really changing here is this recognition that there is an interconnectivity and interdependence, as someone said earlier, and that we need to nurture and expand on that to not just thrive, but really to survive in terms of supply chain. Everything is so interconnected. We have to acknowledge and embrace that.
All right. So Kim, I'm coming to you next, but really quick, as Greg was sharing that, I don't know why, but the analogy that came to my mind is, I don't know about y'all, but when I eat, I've got to have the peas over here. I've got to have the corn over here. I've got to have everything's got to be separated.
Food doesn't touch, huh?
Right. There's a word for that. Starts with an A and ends with an L.
A second letter is in.
But what Greg is describing is that is not modern day global supply chain. It's all connected, like my Uncle Richard. He liked everything touched and everything, right? With a piece of cornbread. And that's really, as what Greg is alluding to, that's reality. That's reality, or maybe better yet, the opportunity for leadership teams that get it and act on it. So Kim, your thoughts?
So look, notwithstanding that these two make my head hurt, and when I talk about this stuff, and also the fact that I'm a digital twin virgin. The point
digital twin virgin. Oh, I got to write that one down.
What this is playing back to, Scott, is the fact that you'll remember a couple of months ago, we were talking about supply chain webs as in spider webs.
That's right.
And, you're right, Greg, and the butterfly, but let's get to the spider, right? Because really it is ubiquitous. It is, the data is everywhere. And without being the expert here, I simply will say this, that one of our clients who has a lot of boats, name shall remain unnamed, of the last 6,000 people they've employed in the last 12 months, I think it's 4,500 or more of those people have been in the digital realm, in the supply chain space, and digital, AI, e-com. So, I mean, this is all over us. It's a tsunami.
It is. It is. And you're referring.
I like the idea of a spider and a spider web, because the spider is sitting in and it's listening for signals from the web around them.
Right.
You're right. And as soon as they get that signal, they know where to go eat. Right. So maybe that's a better way than a network. That web is a good analogy.
Agreed. And Kim, you're referencing our chat with Mark Holmes with InterSystems, who's doing some really cool work. Yeah. He's brilliant. Supply chain fabric, supply chain webs. And by the way, quick shout out to Mark and his team, because they helped us support one of our nonprofit partners, vets2industry.org. So big shout out to Mark and the team. Okay. Really quick, a couple comments. All three of y'all are genius. I love your take here and your humorous takes. I got to keep it light so folks can embrace it. Let's see. Natalie had a great point. We're talking about the transfer of tribal knowledge. As soon as we write it down, it changes. That is such
true.
A great
We're going to
point.
see that, and we're actually going to see some new terminology from one of the other articles that we're going to discuss today.
Right.
I mean, I've been in
Change
this
is
industry a
constant.
long time, never
Change is
seen a
constant.
couple of these acronyms that we're about to see.
And Catherine says primal knowledge, not tribal, primal. I love that.
Love it.
Let's see here. T Squared says the skills gap is the overarching issue in this. The Rudy George relationship needs to be further embraced. Jose Montoya checking in from Southern California. I think Jose and his team are growing and exploding over there. Jose, I hope this finds you well.
That marine layer is probably still in Southern California, so it's still foggy there, right?
I think so.
Yeah, the big month is June in San Diego. You're dead on. Oh, right, you were stationed out there, of course. Right? the weather forecast in San Diego is all the same. We'll have a marine inversion until noon, and then it will be sunny and 73.
Well, so much to tackle, so little time. Kevin, Greg, and Kim. I want to move on to our last article that Greg was referencing earlier. And we're talking about from our friends via the manufacturer, more and more virtual tools are being leveraged for supply chain management. Now, we always see the same graphic. When our virtual tours come, we always see that same graphic, but more and more it's becoming a reality. So tell us more, Kevin.
So supply chains are, it's not a secret. Supply chains are scrambling around the world. And they're trying to figure out the quote new normal as organizations need to consider using cloud-based virtual tools to keep everything running smoothly and to keep the visibility across the supply chain. So virtual twin, yes, Kim, virtual twins, you can't be, I'm sorry, you can't be a virgin anymore. Virtual twin tools can provide a single source of truth and help with advanced decision-making across the product build process. This helps manage risk because manufacturers need to be able to avoid those catastrophes and help lower costs and to move fast when they see that new opportunity. To do this, they really need to have insights from valuable data sources, those signals, like the spider, right? That help inform these decisions. It sounds a lot like that digital supply network or the digital supply web, doesn't it? So these tools should include sales and operations planning, which allows the manufacturers full visibility into factors that affect marketing, finance, and operations in order to bridge the gap between sales and operations. Secondly, it needs to really allow for the integration with the adjacent business processes, things like accurate production planning, with the ability to manage obstacles to profitability, like high inventory levels or poor delivery performance. And finally, these tools need to support accurate logistics and workforce planning. This helps increase the operational efficiency and improve the resource utilization in order to reduce costs. This also ensures productivity and employee satisfaction can remain high.
All right, so there's a lot to unpack here. Really quick, though, and Greg, I'm coming to you next. When I see this, and these tools, these virtual tools. Do y'all remember the 1994 movie Disclosure with Demi Moore and Donald Sutherland and Michael Douglas? And there was a portion there where they go back into the hotel and they're moving files on this virtual reality. I mean, it's finally becoming a reality, I think, based on some of what Kevin is sharing. So, Greg, what say you here?
So I read through this entire article and I was fascinated by both the recognition of need to use cloud native technology, a recognition that retail and distribution supply chain had about a decade ago. And also some of the terms that they used. One part that I'll quote is to managing manufacturer's execution schedule to ensure that the plan is optimal at all times and that service levels are met at minimum costs. That constant use of that term cost, it displays an old-fashioned way of running supply chains. It is the supply chain. I will always argue there is only one job: deliver to eliminate as much risk as possible. So it should say service levels, meaning how well you serve your customer, on time in full. Let's just call it. And I mean real on time and in full, not however you manipulate it to make your KPIs look better. Are met at minimum cost, not at minimum cost, minimum risk. We must consider cost only one of the significant risks that we have in supply chain, not the driving risk, because we have managed supply chains to minimize cost for too long, and it created fragility in other parts of our network, our mesh, our web, whatever we want to call it. And we can't have that weakness in our web, or else the spider can't get to the fly to get dinner. So we have to to make sure that we take a more modern perspective. So this is this is someone or a group of authors with a still very old-fashioned perspective on the supply chain, but still trying to reach into the future with things like digital twins, which are a very accurate and cost-effective and risk-reducing way of changing manufacturing or distribution techniques or whatever. So you don't have to build a secondary factory in real life, IRL. Thank you for that, guys. You build it in some cases, you build it in the metaverse, right? You build it in a virtual environment, and then you test those fragilities and resiliencies and transitions and physical and digital strengths and weaknesses of your supply chain before you actually employ it in the physical world.
Yeah, remember that zero cost means zero capability. So it's not necessarily reducing costs is not always good.
You get what you pay for, is what you're saying. You said a very highfalutin version of that, Kevin, but you boil it down, you get what you pay for. Kim, your take on all these virtual tools and where we're headed.
Suffice to say, I feel discombobulated by the princes of digital process over here. That notwithstanding, I'm just going to throw a bit more cream on the digital cake here, right? and I'm not engineering this, but I just happen to have access. Again, the folks at Accenture, please forgive me if it isn't supposed to be released until tomorrow, but 76%, back to your point, Greg, 76% of C-level on the survey that they've done are going to struggle to scale digital across their business at all. 76% just really struggling to scale. Wow. 8% of all of the proof of concepts don't get to the next stage, arguably because they're not able to translate it. This is where the people come in. And the last
Kim, did you say 8 of 10?
8 of 10. 8 of 10
wow.
of all digital proof of concepts don't progress to the next stage. And given that you are one of the gurus globally of advising companies of how to go digital, and Kevin yourself in this bucket, that's a big number of opportunity for consulting firms, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lots of opportunity.
I'm just going to finish off the cherry on the cake, or the bug into the web, for the spider web, for the tarantula, in the vernacular.
Keep that analog going, babe. Keep it going.
Yeah.
Is that 50% of all supply chain executives expect to have a new technology leadership role reporting directly to the chief of supply chain in their business by 2025.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, one of the reasons why 80% of these digital transformation issues fail, because they keep trying to use the same metrics that depend upon the previous manual processes, and they refuse to redesign those previous manual processes to take advantage of things like cloud native.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to note here that as challenging as digital transformation is, clearly by all these numbers, just traditional change is tough. Supply Chain Dial was reporting Johnson & Johnson Snack Foods, which holds the IC brand amongst others. Their ERP implementation is costing them $20 million in real costs, based on what I would argue is a much more traditional change versus, although there's an element of digital transformation there. So change, folks, eureka moment, is tough. Imagine that.
Right.
Let's do this. So, Jerry,
write that one down. Change is hard, right?
yeah, change is hard. It's so forward looking, right? But hey, Jerry, I want to suggest you connect with our panel here, but certainly Kim,
Particularly
who's
Kim,
got
yeah.
offices around the world. Jerry's asking about where to look for talent and supply chain digitization when supply chain digitization talent is not available. So connect with Kim on that. I'm sure he's got some thoughts. And as we're coming down the loop here, I love that.
Kevin too, I think.
Kevin too. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a book that can help.
Click to Transform it. Amazon bestseller. Y'all check that out. Everything he touches turns to gold. I need to shake your hand more often, Kevin. Clay, great point. As we're going back talking about webs and networks and fabrics, fungi, I think I said that right, is another naturally occurring communicative network to reference. Excellent point, Clay. Okay, so, and Josh Goody, let's see here. Josh says the true cost is going to be measured by the loss of production or the loss of return customers by not delivering, which is something that Greg was harping on earlier. Josh also reminded us that Michael Crichton was the author of Disclosure, which was turned into that 1994 movie. I'd forgotten that. Okay, so what I want to do is, Kim, you've already mentioned this upcoming event that you've got, which I think kicks off tomorrow. Let's just remind folks where to get more information there, gpcasupplychain.com. Of course, you can also connect with Kim and follow Kim for more information. Your final thought about this great event that kicks off this week?
Well, the Gulf Petrochemical Association event is a mainline event here. It'll probably have 400 or 500 regional players there. It's an exhibition as well. I emceed there in 2019. Fantastic event, a lot of innovation. Digital is going to be big. New forms of transport, new forms of communication. It's really important. And also a big move into diversification and sustainability in this part of the world as the world runs out.
Well, we look forward to getting some of your key takeaways from this event. We'd encourage folks to check that out. I appreciate the work that you do. Mohib says, actually, digital twins do exist all across the supply chain, not just properly networked together. It will be connected soon enough. Until then, we're all having to enjoy job security and supply chain now, not supply chain future talk show. I want to, so we're going to make sure folks know how to connect with all of y'all. And Kim, you would, I'm sure, add to your answer, connect with you on LinkedIn, right? Easy to do. You're always putting a lot of great content out there. Jose asked a great question, and this deserves a 6-hour conversation probably. But as we ask Kevin, as we ask, how can folks connect with you? If you, any initial thoughts other than get the Click to Transform book, which would help, I'm sure, accelerate it. Any initial thoughts, and how can folks connect with you?
So my initial thought when anybody asks me is you have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to accept change, and you can't be afraid of failure. You have to accept failure as a part of change. That's where you learn. You learn more from failing than you do from succeeding. And if you want more words like that, just follow me on Twitter at Kevin_Jackson or on LinkedIn, either on my personal page, Kevin Jackson, or on Digital Transformers with Kevin L. Jackson. And finally, supplychainnow.com/digital transformers. So awesome. I'm everywhere.
He is everywhere.
That's right. I tell you, between Kevin and Kim, Kim was sharing his travel schedule in the pre-show. And man, Kim, you're not gonna be sleeping in the same bed for, it sounds like, weeks on end. So safe travel.
You, wherever you are in the world, I will be there.
It's true. It is very true.
Hey, Can I just real quick, Kim, I'm curious because one of the questions is, are the right people out there? And since what you guys do at Logistics Executive Group is place people or, work with companies that are looking to fill those kind of roles, what are you seeing in the marketplace?
Yeah, well, good point, Greg. Look, the narrative is there's a war for talent and there's not enough people. The reality is what we're seeing, and Kevin will be more particularly aware of this, is we're seeing this massive transformation, not only in the digital world, but obviously the talent regimes are following that. So you're getting a lot of crossover. You're getting a huge amount of reskilling. One of the big issues that came out of the research recently in Australia was this massive talent shortage in Australia is actually bring people over 60 back into the workforce, support women to be able to, have somebody to look after the kids while they get back in the workforce. There's enough people around, but as humans and as employers, and governments, we're not being smart enough to bring the talent that's around and skill it properly to bring it back in to deal with the whole new regime of digitalization.
That's a great insight.
There's so many transferable skills that people don't recognize. I really hate the idea of cubby-holding people into specific expertise slots, right? Well, you can't know anything about supply chain. I need somebody because I need somebody for, digital social media. You can't know anything about supply chain. It's like, people can know more than one thing and leverage those, integrate them together to improve what you're doing.
Excellent point. Excellent. Making those assumptions will cost you, undoubtedly. All right. So, Greg, love Kevin and Kim's perspective and all the good work they do and the great causes that they're put their roll up sleeves and put their leadership bandwidth towards. But Greg, amongst other things you got cooking every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, supply chain commentaries. Those have been great. I love the conversations that follow in the comments.
Woo! Yeah.
So tell us
particular topics drive some very particular comments. And I think, look, I have a lot of thoughts about these things. I've been in supply chain for a long time. I understand, I believe, the dynamics of the things that Kevin and Kim and all of us, frankly, are facing. For instance, this notion that that it is so hard to change. It is hard to change, right? What you have, and this predilection to tend to change and automate bad old processes. What you have to recognize about digital transformation or supply chain transformation is that you have an opportunity to rethink all of those things. And that's what I try to do with everything. I'll take an article, rethink their approach or their narrative on a particular topic and put that position out there. What we have to recognize, particularly around technology and particularly around supply chain technology, is all of that technology was built when there was a dearth of data. And it was built using the presumption that there would always be a dearth of data. And that's why some of these ERPs, as this article in the manufacturer brilliantly pointed out, that's why ERPs cannot evolve, and you need to layer other technologies on top of them that are open to, aware of, and useful of this new wealth of data that we have and these new means of using data and technology to make more rapid, more accurate, more sustainable decisions in technology of any kind, but certainly in the supply chain. So if you want to hear more of that, which I can't imagine that you would, but if you can, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'll analyze an article and put out my narrative on the topic that it prompts in my mind. Sometimes right in line with the article, sometimes just something it triggers in this mind of mine.
A lot of times not. I love it. And sometimes you'll find Kim and Kevin in the comments. So y'all check it out. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, connect with Greg White on LinkedIn. By the way, Kim, last time you joined us, we talked about oasisafrica.org. I love what you're doing there. Y'all check that out. We won't have time to get into it again here today, but check out oasisafrica.org. They could use your support for sure, or rather yet, oasisafrica.org.au to get that right. Okay. Well, Kevin, Greg, and Kim, We have to wrap here today. Leave it here. Folks, whatever you do, there's so many different excellent initiatives that needs your support, whether it's just your mental bandwidth or your other resources, but just pick one and take action. And we remind you of this Leveraging Logistics for Ukraine, May 24th, working session, no strings attached. You can find that in the comments earlier, or you can go to vectorgl.com and learn more about how to sign up for that. On behalf of our entire team, again, shout out to the production team. Excellent job today. Amanda, Catherine, Chantel, Clay. Safe travels to you, Clay. Big thanks to Kevin L. Jackson, Kim Winter, and Mr. Greg White. Folks, whatever you do, Scott Luton challenging you to do good, to give forward, and to be the change that's needed. And with that said, we'll see you next time, right back here on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.